Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's FPV podcast. We got a special one here for you today. There's going to be a lot to talk about. I know Elvin's excited. I know our guest is excited. He's been doing a lot of stuff for this industry. It's been going by leaps and bounds. So, before I introduce him, Elvin, why don't you say hello?
Hello, everybody. You guys know I'm on Team Pulse, FPV Direct and Team Furious. But I'm glad to see Trappy's here, man. The big man, the famous Trappy, the guy who got in trouble and got away with it, dude.
All right, so we've already introduced our guest, Trappy. Please say your introductions.
Hey guys, my name is Trappy. My real name is Raphael. I run Team BlackSheep. We've been doing that for about 4 to 5 years now. We manufacture and design pretty much everything around FPV. And yeah, I'm happy to be on.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're glad to have you on. We're glad we can reach you at a good time. So let's go ahead and get started. A lot of people know your history, but we've gotten so many new people in this year, they might not know TBS's history. So why don't you give us a history on how Team Black Sheep got started?
So we started about 8 years ago now. Just experimenting around with. I was in university and I got bored, so I thought I would pick up an old hobby that I used to have. Before girls were important. And then, so in university,
when was
that was like when I was 12.
Right.
So I got into RC when I was 12, but then after once I was 14 to about 20, I kind of stopped. Right. And so we started playing around with, back then it was flying wings, putting cameras on them, we were hacking up baby monitors and soldering it up, trying to make it work. And then this whole FPV thing started to happen and products started coming out. And I was a big glider guy, so I developed the L1D variometer. That was my first venture into this. Which is if you go up it makes do 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 do, and if you go down it makes like that, so you can actually hear the air. Yeah, exactly. It's the most annoying thing to anybody that's not in the plane, but as a pilot, it's a very useful tool.
You gotta find those thermals, right?
Well, yeah,
exactly.
And that's what it's for.
We were staying up 6-7 hours flying FPV. We had to switch out ground station batteries because the goggles kept running out of juice, and we had to start charging the batteries of your remote control while we were flying. We were 20-30 kilometers out, 3 to 4 miles up in the sky, just hitting thermal after thermal after thermal. So it's a pretty awesome experience, but highly illegal.
Highly illegal here in the U.S. Yeah. In the U.S., that is illegal.
It's illegal everywhere. I would say it's a safe bet. Once you scare a real pilot.
When you did it not when you first did it. Here, it's always been illegal. Did it,
they didn't even know that this was even possible. Actually, that's not true in the U.S. right until I don't know when the reinterpretation was, but there were no laws whatsoever for this type of deal.
That's because they didn't know existed, like you said.
Yeah, it was all just recommendations. So that's why we
true. FAA, recommendations.
Yeah, that's why the FAA was biting their nails on our lawsuit. But anyway, so we got started with this whole glider thing, and then slowly came along quadcopters. I was the guy in TBS that said we need to, we had a TBS effort product that we were selling. The company just kind of started out of nobody knows when it started. It just suddenly it was there, and we had a bathtub full of equipment that we sold over a shitty web store. And we started making a quadcopter based out of the DJI arms, because DJI was when you bought one of their super expensive flight controllers, they gave you one of these for free.
Right.
So my idea was, we got all these rich people now who have these frames lying around that they're probably not going to use. They're not going to put a $2,000 flight control on the $30 frame, right? So why don't we just make something that feels exclusive, is made specially for FPV, that ties around these arms, And yeah, pretty soon we had to start buying arms because people were loving the frame. That was the TBS Discovery.
Yep.
It was one of the things that really jump started our company. And as we grew, we had like major run-ins with the local customs authorities because of all the stuff that was coming out of China, like uncertified crap. In Europe you're more liable, so we thought, like, okay, let's just pack up, hit to Hong Kong.
Right.
Yeah, and I was one day I just got on the plane, arrived here in Hong Kong, and like the with the goal of like scouting things out. And 3 days later, I was in an office. Like, oh, that was easy. Let's start.
Dude, in Hong Kong, it's all about making money. You want to make money? It's like, we got a spot for you. It's fast.
Exactly. Yeah,
Just
yeah. It was insane. It was mind blowing. Like, I did not believe how fast this went. I was on the plane, on the Wi-Fi of the plane, ordering my company, registering my company, paying through PayPal, and arriving here. And there was an agent waiting at the airport, picking me up and showing me around. I was like, holy shit, what is this place? And is there any more of them?
Now, what age were you when that happened?
Yeah.
Like when you did that Hong Kong excursion?
That was 2013 or 2014. I'm not too sure. So it was 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay, so like he just went through a lot of history because he pioneered basically like FPV flying wings, which is kind of what got you excited, Elvin, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, like, and then from that, I mean, like, was your first place YouTube when you like started posting stuff, or did you post in other places as well?
Well, Vimeo, YouTube, yeah, they're all the same. But yeah. We as a marketing concept, we always thought that it would be interesting because we're the black sheep, right? So we try to push our limits wherever we are. So naturally, like when I was involved in marketing more, we really pushed the limits of what the technology can do, and try to show that in a very breathtaking way. So we flew up and down mountains. I think that's what most of the people love. We flew in cities with wings a couple of years ago. We stopped doing that because of all the legal stuff. I can't be fighting.
Now he's a real company. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I have some people I need to take care of here. So
right. Got to take care of the rest of the group, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Elvin, what was your favorite wing video? What got you into wings? Because I know you love some of their videos.
Well, I mean, for me, see, I was already flying wings. It was like up here we have, because I live in the Northwest. There's a certain section of the year where you can't fly pretty much nothing else. You got 40-mile-an-hour winds, and on an average, there's days, last weekend I took off in 20-mile-an-hour winds, and I flew my FPV wing practice field in 20-mile-an-hour steady winds with plus 20-mile-an-hour gusts. So there was times when I was going into a corner where I was doing like 60 miles an hour, and as I turned into the wind, I dropped down to like 20, because I'm cutting 40-mile-an-hour winds. So for me, I would say I had already been flying wings for probably about 5 or 6 years steady, and then because you can't fly your helicopter, single rotor helicopters in 40-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah. That's not a great idea unless you got lots of money. And I'm not that guy. So, we moved on to wings. My buddy said, "Hey man, check out my wing," and tossed one up, and he was flying it in 30-mile-an-hour winds. I'm like, I want one of those. And that was pretty it for me for wings. But once I saw the FPV stuff start to pop up, we had the quadcopters because that was my first introduction to FPV was through a quadcopter. And it was the Galway 330. And that's what I first saw fly. But then I started seeing these videos popping up, of these guys flying wings all over the place, of cloud surfing. And I wanted to do those things, but I realized that I lived in a metropolitan area and it's probably not a great idea to do around here. But it's one of those things I've always admired about Team Black Sheep's videos is that some of them have done some crazy, epic, crazy. I mean, like it was 6 Zephyrs took off in the field, snow, and they're flying along, filming each other and flying along together. And that was unheard of at the time, that there was more than 2 people in the air flying at the same time. And to do 6, it was like everybody was like, "Oh, what?" And then slightly after that, they did the 80 kilometers. Remember that one? 80 kilometers. Oh my God! I watched that probably 10 or 15 times. It's like, and not going, oh, let me just speed through, going, oh, no, go back. Oh, look, wow, look how close he is to that city, and it's like, wow. And then looking at it on Google Maps and stuff like that. So those are the things that brought my attention to FPV-ing wings, and really brought out my FPV urge, because the Gaui 330, guys don't know, but the Gaui was like, if you picked it up and dropped it, it could be done. If you was getting out of the car and dropped it out of your hand with the battery in it, it could be done. Simple as that. So it was one of those things where you saw it fly and you go, that's cool, but I don't want one.
Definitely, though, the 80-kilometer thing, like, even now thinking about it, it's hard to contemplate, but to do it back then that's crazy. And it's like, that's just a huge number, it's like people just don't realize it. It's like, I don't know. You guys are crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. Now,
that was what it was all about. Like, we had a challenge from a guy who said, like, I can do 15 kilometers, and we were always about, like, well, let's double it. So we hit 30. And then he went like, okay, I can hit like maybe 35, 40. And then we were like, all right, let's double it again, 80. and then they all stopped. They're like, okay, fuck this, we're out.
Like, I quit.
Don't like
losing. Do that.
We are very, very competitive people. I guess a lot of our competitors have realized that through the last year. If you challenge us on the market, challenge accepted. Right. And we'll beat your ass.
And that's another one of the things you can say about TBS, is that in time, you guys have stepped out as a forefront and led us through an era, and then you've also come back and spanked some ass in the process to take the market back. So you got to say that about you guys. You guys definitely one of the most innovative groups that's producing stuff out at the market today.
Definitely. And to get into the multi-rotor side, so you're definitely known for your wings because of all those great videos. Then you produced the Discovery, which at the time was kind of groundbreaking in itself, but that was more for the photographer, the camera size, the people that really want to extended flights and stuff like that, which was awesome. But like, then you jumped into like more racing stuff with the Gemini. What was your thought behind the Gemini? Because that's still one of the only hexacopters that are built production made. What was your thought process behind that?
So when we started the Gemini, or maybe let me backtrack a little bit. So we were stuck with the Discovery Pro, we had the Discovery Pro.
Right.
And we realized that GoPro was not going to be the leader in this market. That was pretty clear like 2 to 3 years ago. In my opinion, GoPro is not running their company very cleverly. They could be doing a lot better. So we realized that GoPro is not going to be here for us. That means like, because the Discovery Pro was relying on the GoPro and we didn't have any HD camera knowledge, we realized that we were going to be losing out if we partner up with GoPro and make a Discovery Pro version 2 or whatever. We're always going to be behind on that price. So we kind of like, I think we were one of the first companies that were set dead set to battle DJI, and then like completely steered off course. Like all of the other companies were too scared to do that. Like 3DR, they were like, well, we're in this for, let's try it, right? And in my opinion, you can only battle a company like DJI if you're really prepared for it, with all the engineering, already done.
Right.
You can't just go like, okay, I'm going to go after DJI. I'm going to get all the engineers now, right? That's not how it works. It's a very good company. So that's why we were like, okay, how about we try to make the quadcopter smaller, and then just make it like an FPV experience. So that's when this whole racing thing didn't exist. The whole 250 thing didn't exist when we started with the Gemini. The Gemini was almost a 2-year development process, and so there were a lot of technologies that are coming out actually right now. Like today, we're launching the G2 that were built with the Gemini 1. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to take this TBS Discovery, the original one, not with gimbals, nothing, and just turn that into something smaller that could be then flown again safely in cities and stuff like that. So we were looking around for creative designs, and we met William Thielekem. He's also known as Shreddicat, and he designed the TBS Gemini. I mean, back then it was still called the Shreddicat Gemini. So we bought the design from him, and then we started get to work. All the electronics. Everything was custom made. We didn't really know where the market was going, so we just thought like, okay, let's be completely creative and not stick to any like size constraints and whatever. And that's how it all got started. The thought process behind going a hex or a quad just didn't exist back then, and we were just like, well, why not a hex now?
Okay, I was just curious because like when it first came out, everybody was really excited. That it's like, wow, it's got 6 motors, and of course, 4S battery thing flew really fast. Are you still supporting that? Because I know it's still on your website. Is that something that you're going to phase out because of the Vendetta?
No, I mean we never phase out products, and we never try to make a version 2 of something, because usually if you build a platform, then it's only good for that amount of time, until you start recycling ideas. So that's why we like from the Gemini to the Vendetta, you can see no resemblance at all. What we're going to be coming out with next, you'll see no resemblance at all.
Wow. I like the Gemini. It was an interesting idea, and at the time, it started the market looking at smaller ships. I don't know if it was the proper answer at the time. It seemed that a lot of guys was more worried about it being fragile, and it's got 6 motors. Because I remember, I was one of those guys going, oh crap, here we go. Now I got to go buy one of these things. It's got 6 motors on it. Oh, what happens if one breaks? Oh my God, is it modular? No, it's not. It was that whole blah, but it shortly after that, you guys the market moved to a different ship. That's what it was.
Yeah. Go ahead, Trappy.
The market was set on like 250 size. Plus, they were starting to come out with rules that would ban the Gemini from races by default. Like not like specifically targeted at the Gemini, but they were like 5-inch props only. We were on 3-inch props. Which is apparently now becoming a thing.
So it is now. It's like, oh, we need to go smaller. But like,
now it's a class, right? It's
I have to go like here's the Gemini,
Right. What was funny is when the Gemini came out, I was just starting to really get into trying to learn all this stuff, and it was like, oh, I really want that. Ooh, that's really expensive for the first one you get. I think that was the biggest issue, was that everybody wanted it, but it was also at that point it was still really expensive. Yeah.
It was $500.
Yeah, so
600.
Well, 578. 578.
A build per motor.
now you know where that came from. Bill for motor.
Right.
You heard it from
Yeah,
Trappy.
Bill for motor. I mean, at the time, it was kind of right? I mean, motors were like $20 a piece, and
Hey,
speed controllers weren't
28,
cheap.
28, yeah.
28.
For the little 13 something or 18 something, whatever it was.
1806.
Yeah, 1806. It was pretty crazy, pretty crazy times.
How things have changed.
Now, just kind of to get your opinion on this, like the wing market has always been kind of steady in my opinion. But like if you notice, like the multi-rotor, it's like the complete opposite. Like one day you'll wake up and there'll be something completely new that everybody wants and you're like, okay, why? And you're trying to figure it out, and by the time you figure it out, they want something else. Is that for you kind of really hard? Because like wings, it's always been pretty steady in my opinion. Is that what you see?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's one of the most troubling things in this FPV racing industry is that we have way too many companies doing stuff. Yeah.
Right. Too many options. Just seriously, I totally agree with that. And I've said it, you got way too many this, too many that, too many this, too many that. And everything is just jumped into that FPV racing. This is, we got 2306 motors coming out. We got 2307s, 2407s. I heard somebody's making a 28.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
12? I don't know.
Yeah.
Too much stuff. So how do you deal with it?
I'm good. Sorry. Well, I mean, for me as a business, the answer is very simple. If we don't make something new, Sorry, are you guys still here?
Yep.
Yes,
we're still here.
Stopping. So I just moved to my phone. Now it's working.
Okay.
Our internet is shitty in the office.
No problem.
So,
Go ahead. And so, okay, let me just restart. So, the question I gave you was, the market is moving sporadically. How do you cope with it as a company? Because you're really important as one of the major companies here.
Yeah, so we see ourselves like as a rockin', when the sea comes in. So we try to stay as steady as we can with our strategy, and don't get too knocked off course by all this volatility that is happening. In my opinion, everybody that's designing a product should actually just take a step back. Really tell to himself, am I contributing something, or am I just making the same shit with one different parameter?
Right.
And if all the people actually followed that, I think we would have a lot more steadiness in this industry. I mean, I saw, seriously, I get tired from all the motor manufacturers sending me like yet another 2206, 2301 kV motor that's like 0.1% more powerful than the one before. I was like, what are you trying to tell me here? I need to dump all my shit in there and then replace it with this shit that is exactly 0.1% more powerful? I'm not going to do that. Doesn't make any sense. Like, all my customers need to buy 4 more motors if they break one, right? So they're spending more money on this hobby, than actually like remaining steady and all of this. This. I'm trying not to be racist here, but especially being in China, but all of this Chinese flood of noise that is coming through the market, I think is driving up the cost. And people are like, well, I'm not paying $20 a motor. I can buy it for $10, but they end up paying a lot more because they keep buying the newest shit. And
exactly,
the Chinese are doing it is like, we're okay. We will sell you this motor at $1 profit, and then we'll come out with the next one that you need to buy, and then we'll sell that one to you again at $1 profit.
Right.
So all they're generating is trash in their own homes, right?
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're paying exactly the same amount of money as they would with, if you look at the really good pilots like Mr. Steele, like Gary Kent, I mean, these are the guys that I know. They will decide what they fly at a given point in time, and then they will stick with that for over a year. It's like at least a year. Yep. And these are the pilots that will actually have success in races, or have success in freestyle, or have success in general, because first of all, they're not spending money all the time on upgrading and just making everything different, basically. And then on the other hand, they know their gear inside out, so all that we're doing is memorizing finger motions, right? Especially with quadcopters. So they're the guys that have this dialed down and that know how their quad reacts, and they have three of the same quad, and that's it.
True that.
Right? And because they stick with a brand, and because they're steady, companies like us want to work with them, so we will send them free stuff.
Right.
Right? So they're not paying for anything anymore. So what all these other people are forgetting is like yet another T motor. I don't know how many versions T motor has already done this for. It's actually hurting the brand, it's hurting the market, and it's hurting the pilots that buy into this crap, in my opinion.
Well, go ahead. Well, there's all these guys out here, right? I mean, they see something on Steel's quad, they see something on Schizo's quad, they see something on Stinger Swarm's quad, and they just gotta have it, oh my God, I just gotta go buy it, and you're like, oh, dude, you realize that's $32 a motor. I mean, Jesus, I'm like, I just bought some motors for $28 that are comparable to some $40 motors, and my group, my multi GP group is like going, how does the company make money? I'm like, but they've been making this motor for a year, just nobody's been buying it. So that's like I tell everybody all the time, you can go, the only real advanced stuff I see is camera, VTX, and flight controllers.
Yeah. Well, but
not
with
much,
the flight controls, it's the same now.
Right. And now all of them are grouped up in the same group, right? And I mean, you got multiple F4s out now, more than 10, right?
Yep.
You have more than 5 of them under $40, right?
Yeah.
And the rest are in that upper echelon group, right? The brain and all of all the other ones. But the thing is that when we, as a new pilot, when you're coming out, like you were saying, when you're spending your money and you're trying to figure out because at this time you don't know what's the right thing to spend most of your money on, right? You don't know if it's you spend $50 on a flight controller, or you buy a $20 one. You go buy Naze 5, version 5, and it'll get you by for the next year, until you're a better pilot and you can know what to buy, But it's the market is saturated. I totally agree with that.
Everywhere. Yeah, and I mean it's killing a lot of companies, I think, or at least it's not making them any money, and it's putting them into a dog chasing tail kind of situation where they make some money on stock, and then they have leftover stock that they need to either pedal off or throw out at a big loss. And I mean, if you looked at the Black Friday sales this year, we always look at that as kind of an indication on how companies are doing. And all or most of what we saw was people selling stuff. Even TBS, like we had 00 version 1 that didn't sell so well, and we had like 20 left. Put them on the store for $5. We sold 600 in like 30 minutes.
I saw that. That was really funny. You're like, oh great, now what am I gonna do?
Yeah, it's like what. But yeah, you saw like companies are trying to get rid of their old stock, and obviously at a price lower than what they were buying it from, and this like kind of hurt me to see all this happening, and it kind of reinforced my opinion on that this kind of needs to stop. Otherwise we're heading down a path where and I saw this was on your bullet list down the line, so I'm not going to go there right now, but we're kind of heading down a path where we're hiring off newbies with all this constant new stuff. So TBS has always tried to stay somewhat steady. We're still on Atmo ESCs for the Power Cube. So if you've had a Power Cube, you probably have not spent that much money on ESCs, even though they're 25 a pop. But you don't have to, always buy 4 new ESCs. Because even the cheap China stuff, if you buy 4, you're paying more than 24 bucks. So if if you break an ESC, a lot of people just go, well, fuck it, I'll just buy the deal, hell yes, whatever. We didn't do that for the Power Cube. it's a very deliberate decision. We could very easily have POLES disease on the market right now, but we want to try to really, have people invest into a platform and then stick with that platform for a certain period of time until we take them to the next platform and then to the next one and then so if you buy TBS products, you're in like this family of where we will take care of you. We will always make sure that you will, have good stuff, but it's never going to be bleeding edge because, in my opinion, bleeding edge also means that you're spending so much money on constantly trying to go places. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to be an economical brand, right? So if people spend a lot of money with us, in terms of like for one product we are typically more expensive. But in the long run, I don't think TBS customers pay a lot more than the Hobby King or Banggood.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because your products generally last and you support them for a seriously long time. And just to go back on some of the things you said, like down here where I live, we run a store with a PC company that we try to hold FPV gear here so that when people break stuff, they can actually come into the store and find, racing stuff that they can replace immediately. And what we've been turned off on, almost to the exact letter of what you're saying, is we stopped carrying a lot of products because the turnover was so quick that we couldn't stock what we needed to, get rid of it, and then go to the next one. So it's like it just became a bear, and so we like literally like towards the end of this year we just stopped because it's like
Yep.
it's too maddening, it's too crazy. It's like we just can't keep doing this. So like for a lot like motors and ESCs, we just stopped carrying. Like we just stopped carrying. It's like we started telling people, sorry, go buy it online because you're just gonna want something
Yep.
different, and it's not
Right.
gonna help
Yep.
you at all. You're just gonna
Yep.
spend more money to get no additional efficiency because it's still
Yeah.
about you at the end of the day. You need to fly
Right.
better,
Yeah.
not
Exactly. Yeah.
not the ESC, which
Yeah. It's
it's hard.
it's a very disturbing trend, but it's one that is fueled by an oversupply of suppliers. So that means that there is enough or too many companies for not enough customers. In my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, FPV racing was hyped way too hard. You have all these shitty companies that used to produce for big companies before that are now that big companies maybe one or two of them don't have such a high turnaround anymore. So now these factories are looking for work and they're finding it on the market. So that's why you have all these brands popping up. If we always say if there's fly or if there's sky inside the brand name, it's a Chinese company. So we will have all these fly skies, not like the company fly sky, but all the fly skies coming out, and they're all bringing nothing really new to the table. They're just trying to earn a living, but they don't have the engineering resources to actually make new products. So
Mm-hmm.
they start what I would do if I made a motor. They just start changing out and changing numbers. Basically, it's like, well, now I have a motor with zero point 0.2 stator lamination. Let's go for 0.15 because that's a new thing on our bullet list, and then people will buy it because of that. Maybe it'll give more performance. Maybe mini quad test bench. We'll have a show like the rib top motor. Then we'll sell 2,000-3,000 motors till the next guy comes along and make that. It's a very bad for the industry because like you were saying it doesn't enable small shops to actually grow.
Right.
And if that doesn't happen, like a lot of pilots are forgetting this, if everything will concentrate to online vendors, there will be no more FPV race. You can just forget about it,
Right.
right? Because if I'm competing on an online space purely, I'm not going to invest in races, right? So if you need $10,000 for the to run a race, and 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 I'm competing against guys where everything is based on price, everything is moving very quickly. There's not going to be money left over to pay for that race on my behalf. So in that like if the local support stops, then the FPV racing stops, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a very dangerous trend, and we keep going in that direction, and we keep trying to. I mean, we're one of the biggest manufacturers, so us being a very steady and a stable brand, um, I think sends a signal, and I think we're one of the very few companies that are still profitable in this industry. That is also a very very important factor. Like a lot of people are generating a lot of turnaround, but because of all the back end stuff, um, they're not profitable. So I come from a Swiss background, so to us, like running a company, the bottom line is always the most important thing. We'd like to make some big moves, that will draw your cash flow, but we've never had like one single red month in TBS history, not one.
Nice.
Right. So we always stay steady. We try to like grow it very very slowly, one step at a time, and usually you'll have these these quick fallers, right? That like I don't want to name any names here to offend anybody, but a couple of companies they're very popular overnight, and then they kind of go away because they don't have that bottom strength, right? Like when we build up, we build from the ground up, like multi-GP. Don't fuck with multi-GP because multi-GP has been doing the groundwork, right? They have a solid base, and they can screw up now. They can screw up as much as they want because they have that solid base, right? If you have a couple of like high rollers that come in, and obviously everybody's going to be like, oh my god, this is so epic, but if they screw up, then they're going to be, you fucked up, man. You're gone, right? It's because they don't have that bottom support. So if you want to be in this business long term, you have to have that, build it solidly, get good engineers, get innovation going, and don't try to fight with the Chinese on little incremental improvements, because they're always they'll pull you up to your level, or they'll pull you down to their level and beat you with experience.
Right.
One of the things that is always constantly funny is like people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna design this and I'm gonna send it over to China. I'm gonna produce 1 billion of them." It's like, and I look at them because I'm Chinese, right? And it's like, you realize the second that you send that over, about 1 billion other companies are gonna clone it immediately, and then you're not going to be able to make any money off of this. It's so easy for them to clone stuff. So, like sending stuff over to China, especially anything that's really truly revolutionary, that's just asking for it to be stolen.
Right.
Yeah. Well, especially
we all know this.
Yeah. I mean, especially with things that are easy to clone, like frames, right? You can't protect the frame. How are you going to protect the frame? The only way that you can protect the frame is offer lifetime warranty, which is what Armaton is doing, or going to like exquisite carbon fiber, which is what Astra X is doing very, very successfully. Like if you buy one of their frames, you're just and no cloner is going to be able to copy that.
12K.
Yeah.
That's a badass carbon right there.
Yeah, but they also they finish off the edges, with silk.
Right.
They put like silk coating on the edge, and just little stuff like that is gonna really set them apart from all the cloning stuff. But I mean, if you look at a Lumineer frame, you can probably buy any Lumineer frame off of Banggood before Lumineer manages to bring it to market.
They are doing it now. It's crazy.
It's hurting. It's hurting to see that, right? Because I mean, Lumineer is a competitor in this industry, right? To TBS. But they're also they're friends, right? Because we're in the same industry. So if you see this happen, it's kind of like you choke up a little, and it's just, oh man, that's not fair,
right?
It's
and
tough.
It happens. It happens.
It happens a lot.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. I mean, now we got cloned on the Triumphs. It's hard. And people are thinking just because it looks the same, it performs the same. It's not the case. They're saving like $2. The clones are $2 cheaper than the original, which makes it $1 per antenna, right? And I'm like, who the fuck is so stupid to buy a fucking clone for $1 on a $20 product?
Right.
But there's people buying that shit.
I know.
And the problem is the guys that cloned this, they had none of the expenses that Alex and I had.
Right.
The tooling for the Triumph, the trials, 2 to 3 years of development, all this blood, sweat, and tears. They have none of that, and they're just making $1 less per antenna than Alex and I. And TBS and Alex is sharing the profit, right? So the cloner is actually making more money on the antenna, a lot more money on the antenna than us. Yeah. So
well, he's making all profit.
Exactly.
You got no research and development at all.
Yeah, and the problem with this is that now, like the money that they're making, they're going to be reinvesting this into cloning more shit.
Right.
So by buying clone stuff, you actually reinforce the cloning mentality, which is the actual problem. I have no problems with people buying clone stuff, whatever. Like when I was a little kid, I didn't buy the Hilfiger. I bought the shirt that said Hilfiger, but it wasn't made by Hilfiger. That was cheap. I'm still cheap. I still wear the same hat every fucking day.
Yeah, you're not cheap. I'm sorry to tell you this. You're not cheap. Okay, so let's go ahead and focus back on the I love the Team BlackSheep stuff because you guys make stuff that, one, they're very durable. You support them, and they're easy to use. That's one of the things that cloners tend not to be able to do, is to make it easy to use. They'll give you something. Good luck trying to read the instructions on it and trying to figure it out sometimes. But I love some of the stuff. Like specifically things like the Power Cube. I've been a big fan of the Power Cube since it came out. And like literally the first day I got the Power Cube, I was like, hey, it says it can support 6S. I got a 6S battery. I powered it up, full throttled it. I thought I was going to burn it out the first day. You guys make some cool products because I did not burn that out. It got really hot. I'll definitely tell you that. It got super hot, but it was cool. What was the thought process behind the Power Cube? Because that was like I didn't know it was coming out. It was just completely out of the blue.
Well, and again, it was like a year ahead of its time. Like if you look at everybody doing stack stuff now, the Power Cube was the pioneer in all of this. And this is what that was the exact thought process. Like everybody is putting a 36 by 36 millimeter board into their alien frames or blackouts, what it was back then, and they had like all this stacking height that they didn't use. And I was like, why don't they put the ESCs in the middle? And then we started playing around like with, I don't know if the Gemini, we had this vertically stacked setup. So all the 6 ESCs were stacked like memory cards in a mating PCB. And then the problem there was that you had to solder just a little bit to get the ESC out and pop it back in. So we went to a solder-free approach, which means we had to screw. And then we wanted to make it modular so that we knew that the industry was either going down or up in size. I mean, the quad size was going to go down or up. So we wanted to remain modular, and we kind of bet on this 36 by 36 millimeter standard, which has paid off. And so, yeah, that's why we built the Power Cube. And then just put, like, everything screws on top of each other. There's no soldering required. And one of the things, like, the reason why it works very well with your 6S setup is because we have these capacitors in there. You know, this is what everybody making those ESCs now has again, it's a battle for weight specs. You know, if your ESC is 1 gram lighter, it's going to sell better. So they started removing those capacitors, which is, you know, now blowing cameras and VTXs left.
Right. Backfed noise, so, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know about electrolytic caps is that they're a lot better than the SMD versions, right? Yeah, they don't realize that electrolytic caps create less noise, less feedback, and use less current. Simple as that.
And they're cheaper. They're cheaper too.
True that.
Like I said,
so that's
yeah, no, like
that
I said,
was the whole thought process.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, and I like some of the new stuff that you're doing with the new Power Cubes. But there's one thing that I hope you can work on, is that somehow you can like make it so that you can fit because like everybody's putting the batteries underneath the frames now. So somehow, if you use a Power Cube, you got to be able to get a strap like on the bottom plate of the Power Cube. If you can figure that out, that'd be great. That's the only thing. That's the only gripe.
We figured it out on the QQ. Sorry, we promoting stuff QQ. On your show.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can do that. You can do that, homie.
So we can do like here. You see the Power Cube is in there. There's no space around it. So what we actually do is we just feed the strap in one end. like that. Feed it through the other end, like so, and then wrap it around.
Yeah,
I think that'll work. I'm not sure if you can
That
convince
works.
racers of it, but
You see here,
is
the bucklet
is that mine?
he's already wants free stuff. That was quick.
I'm just checking if there's your name on it. There's not your name on it. I'm sorry, man.
Man. Oh,
Elvin,
man.
that's strike one, bro. That's strike one. All right.
It's a QQ. Look at that.
Okay, so Power Cube was definitely one of 2016's one of the products that I really love. And then, like, you didn't stop there. I mean, you had a boatload of products. I'm only going to go through the highlights of stuff that I love. But next one on the list was the Vendetta and then the Tango. The Vendetta was, I'm guessing you put that out as a direct competitor to the Vortex because, like, at the time, there was the Gemini, the Vortex, the first one, the 285, it sold like hotcakes when it came out. So I'm sure
production frames.
Yes.
Production frames.
You're right. And like the Vendetta looked like it was a direct competitor to that. And it's a great frame. Like I've seen some people do some crazy things with it and it survives really well. That carbon fiber cage, really cool. What was the thought process behind that?
Again, I wanted to experiment with making something extremely modular, and the only way that I could figure it out was if the entire frame was one piece. Like that's the only way that you can actually make something modular. Because if you have two plates, then it's always like screwing and stuff like that. I didn't want any of that, so we wanted to make one entire piece. And as we were researching this carbon fiber, once you spin it 3D rather than just make it flat surface, it actually becomes a lot harder. So we had, 2 for 2. So all right, let's do this. We looked around. There was a frame called shit now, and oh my god, I forget the name. Anyway, there was a frame out there. It was like a carbon fiber tube with two bottom mounted arms. But the difference was that it was a straight tube, right? So it's like an extrusion. So you basically have a positive mold. You wrap around the carbon fiber. You put around a vacuum bag, and then you bag it, and then you have that tube, and you just knock it off the mold. But while we were designing this, we kind of looked at, the camera section has to be larger. And then we fit the power cube in there because now the power cube was like 30 millimeters high, so we had to have that height. But then the battery, you got to move it low to maintain the CG. So that's why we had this like complex shape, and then started like a 6 month process trying to get that made. In an industrial, like it's always easy to make one, but to make 1,000, or 5,000 or 10,000 of them repeatedly with 0% failure rate was a very difficult process. But again, like we invested the time, we invested the money to make all of these toolings work, and now, any carbon fiber shape you want, we can make it, and we can make it very, very fast, right? So this is like the technology that I wanted to learn, and I wanted to make sure that we understood it, and that we understood it in a large scale process. Yeah,
that's cool. And like I forgot one actually, because it's probably the most important one, to be honest with you, is your VTXs. Your VTXs, like when Alex hails them as the best ones, I know they're going to be good because he doesn't stop talking to me about them in 45 minutes, even though he's lost me at minute 20. He just doesn't know it yet. I'm like, Alex, I have no idea what you're talking about for the last 25 minutes, but keep going, keep going. Now, when you made your VTX, did you just want to make your own VTX, or did you see like, man, these VTXs that are coming out just aren't very good, so I'm just going to make a better one?
Well, to me, the industry was stuck. We had some VTXs that we made because customers wanted them. It's that very familiar shape that you now know from Banggood, like the Yashin 25s, with the module on one side, components on the other side, antenna sticking out the top. So we made that really quickly, like within a week, and sold them. They were like the Unify Greenhorn for 25, for 200, and Boss for 500. So we made those way back, and we weren't really proud of them. So it was just some like, okay, we gotta have one. Everybody wants one. All right, here's a VTX. Whatever. Trying to go crazy and clone this shit, and make it cheaper so that people can enjoy them. But we were seeing that there was not really any kind of innovation on the VTX market happening. Like people were mostly stuck with the bricks, with the immersion RC, huge.
They were huge, yes. They were really
with
big.
the huge connectors, and I mean we already talked to Tony like back in the wing days. Like, do you really need such a big connector? Is that really necessary? And he was like, yeah, that's the best thing ever. And we're like, okay, fine. No, you do your stuff. We'll do it differently. But the problem that we saw, yeah, exactly.
Right? That's a big ass difference right there, buddy. Big
difference.
Yeah, so we and also like one of the biggest weaknesses on the VTXs that anybody was making was they were surface mounting the SMA, which took the most of the impact and all of the crashes. Like, well, what do you expect is going to happen, right? It's going to break up the SMA. So we started with putting UFL connectors on so that it would pop off. Then we had the problems of like, okay, VTX is burning out, so we started to make it, design everything around the VTX so that it would withstand those like heat and temperatures. And then we were kind of stuck for about 3 to 4 months, no real progress. And then Alex came over. He was here for 2 weeks. I put him together with my engineers. Everybody everybody pushing their limits, and then suddenly like, bam, we got it. 800 milliwatts, switchable, like controlled. We can linearly control the power now. Everything like ready to go. All right, let's release it. And then what happened was like one of the most frustrating things ever. And I hope it's okay if I talk about this. Like, we were locked out of the market by Immersion RC. So this was like they were hell bent on like dominating the entire market through their VTX system, right? And like first it was like they were handing out VTXs free of charge to all of the event organizers, but only if you only raise their VTXs. Then it was like noise problems, and like they kept coming up with these excuses and excuses and excuses. So I spent most part of last year fighting this, very very fiercely. Like I never let go. Like I'm like a dog with a fucking bone. I'm not gonna let go until like what I think is fair is happening. So we pushed that through in Europe. We pushed that through in the US that our VTXs were now allowed, and that completely shook up the market. And basically it allowed people to become familiar with that VTX. And now of course it's in my opinion it's still the best VTX out there. And customers seem to agree. So yeah, that was one of the frustrating but both also like very very helpful things for TBS, because we learned how the industry works, how you can have a very good product but not be able to sell it simply because you don't have access to the market. So that was one of the biggest lessons of 2016, and
yeah, I understand. Go ahead, Alvin. You had something to say. I could tell it on your face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I came back from Worlds, right? I mean, we heard about what was the immersion, the Tramp, right? We heard that the Tramp was coming, and it was out, and it worked great in France, and everybody was raving about it. And then a couple of guys got it, and it didn't go so well here, right? I mean, a bunch of guys bought the Tramp, and it just didn't go so well. And then when we got to Hawaii, and like I noticed everybody that had Tramps had issues. It was like you couldn't lock on a channel. It was drifting. It was dirty on the other side. You couldn't control it. the pit mode didn't work or the wand wasn't working right, you know. And then you just walk like I said, I came up to you and I said, dude, I can't get mine to come out of safe mode or 25 milliwatt. And you just walked up to it, went do 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 do. You good? And I was like, oh, give me 2 more of those. And
yeah,
literally, I have
the
not
button
had
combo.
issues. But yeah, I have not had an issue with a 1.
I will say this though, the button combo thing does trip up everybody I know. So you Trappy, just put 2 buttons on there. Come on.
Well, funny the clone that's gonna be coming out from the Unify Pro actually has 2 buttons. But please don't buy that.
Are you serious? There is a clone of that? I didn't realize that. I haven't been paying attention.
I haven't looked at it yet in too much detail how good it actually is, like on the RF side of things, but it looks pretty much the same. But anyway,
the race is hard to beat, I would think.
Yeah, it's I would say it's impossible to beat on price.
Yeah.
If, especially like with all the background thing that we bring as a legitimate company, not as somebody just goes like, well, you bought it. You bought it. You suck.
Definitely, it's been a really good workhorse VTX, and you just can't beat the size for what it can do. 800 milliwatts in that little wafer. I don't understand. Although, like, do they burn out because they get really hot at 800 milliwatts? Because like you literally touch your fingers, like woo.
So every batch that comes from our factory, like every batch is a couple of thousand VTXs, and from every batch we take 10, we put them into a tin can, completely sealed off, like and then we power them up on 800 milliwatts without an antenna connected for 24 hours, and if one of the 10 burns, we ship them all back to the factory.
Wow.
This is our test, right? I mean, it's
right.
It's a very brutal test. It's like not something
that is a high bar
somebody else would do.
Right.
Not even a pick. Hello?
Yeah, Trappy. Did we burn out your internet bill?
No, I got a call, so it hangs up my internet.
Oh, that's not a problem, dude.
So I just swiped it off and I'm back.
Yep, my bad.
Yeah.
I was like, Trappy just went offline. I hope he's okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so we just got done talking about the VTX, which is like you actually have like 3 versions of that now. You got maybe 2. I can't remember.
2.
You got the race one.
Well, 3, yeah.
No, that's 3.
We got the race, we got the HV, and we got the V2. So the race is...
He's got another phone call.
Yeah.
Just answer your phone, Trappy. That's so funny. So, okay, VTX is aside. Go ahead and go with your varieties.
Yeah, sorry. The HVs for like the premium one, 800 milliwatts. We got the race for 25 and 200 milliwatts, and both of these run on 6S. And for like the really weight savvy people who have a clean 5-volt source, we have the Unify V2, which is like even smaller, but you need to power it from an external 5-volt source.
Exactly, yeah. If you have a power cube, you have one of those sources. So
exactly.
It's always good to have that. And now, this is a question that has been asked from people that I know: is at 800 milliwatts, how far have you actually gotten a flying whatever?
I don't measure with like directional antennas. With the stock Tango setup, you can go 4 to 5 kilometers without a single glitch. On 800 milliwatts.
Wow, that's hard. Elvin?
So that's like...
Would you do it?
I want to. But there's you're not going to just go 4 to 5 kilometers with 2.4 gigahertz control. It's not, it can be done, you know, with a booster and a repeater or whatever, cranking your 2.4 to 7 watts, you can do it. I've done it, but you know, we're trying to minimize things, make things easier to pack up a mountain, down the back road. You know, you don't need to be carrying a tripod and you know this and that, you know, and two guys with you. You know, it's already a pain in the ass to load a backpack now. So I would say, you know, I want a Crossfire.
I was like, okay, where is this going?
I do want a Crossfire. We've been a couple of guys we've been talking about that because we want to do some stuff up here. As for tandem pilots, we got 5. I got 5 wing pilots I'm training right now, and we're working together. And like I keep teasing them about heading up to the mountain, and we all just pull up at the bottom of the hill, bottom of timberline, and take off. And we don't have to ask no questions if you got the right stuff, you know. And we just head up to the top and turn around and race down and land, get in the car, and drive off. That's how we used to do things in the first place.
Dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's also like one of the things, like we come from a long range background. I don't like to race, to be honest. Like usually here in Hong Kong, when they have a race, I'll just queue up and then like go on the starting line, and then they say, okay, go. And I just go up a mountain like for 2 to 3 minutes and then come back down and land. And like, oh, I didn't complete any laps. I'm sorry. Guess I'm out. So for me, that part is much more interesting. So that's why we built the Crossfire, to have like a really solid mini quad ready long range lane. Because the 433 has a couple of issues with, you know, all the components jammed so close together. It's a little sensitive to noise. So we moved away from that frequency and got up a little bit of higher bandwidth. So, but still, you know, getting crazy range Crossfire. Like,
true.
With the mini receiver, you get like 30, 40 kilometers safe. And with the large receiver, we got 100 kilometers safe. You know, just all stock antennas. So
I would never trust a 5.8 to be clear all the way. Somebody will power up and kill you. No, that's just me. You guys are
don't do long range on 5.8, guys. Like if you do, get like the VAS crosshair antenna. You know, the ones that we had in Hawaii. They're pretty excellent. They'll take you to 10 kilometers, but 10 kilometers is that magic barrier where if you cross 10 kilometers on 5.8, you're heading into trouble.
Right.
And so you go 1.2 if you're in the US, or you go 2.4 if you're anywhere else in the world. And then that will get you past that 10 kilometers with ease. Like, you'll have a TBS Yagi, which is the size of this water bottle, and that'll take you like 15 to 20 kilometers.
15 to 20 kilometers. Actually, that kind of, well, before we get into some of the new frontier stuff that you're doing, let's talk about, like, I think it's the only radio controller that you make, which is the Tango. And it's the only product I actually don't understand. Like, who is this for? Because, like, I tried it out. I'm like, this is not my cup of tea. I don't know who you built this for.
Okay, so we saw the problem in the market, in my opinion, is the goggles are too expensive, or they suck. Like Fat Shark makes awesome goggles. I saw you guys had them on last time. I'm a huge fan of Fat Shark. You know, I still fly I think this year is the Dom V1.
Oh yeah, there we go.
This is my tryout. Yeah, this is my tryout rig, and then I got the Dom V2s here, and I won't trade them for anything. They're not available anymore, so like, you know, I treat them very, very carefully. They're expensive, right? So the Dom V2 was like $350 when I bought it. The HDs are now $500, I think.
Oh,
the
yeah.
HD V3s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very expensive and very intimidating for a newbie to get into. And we realized that very early on, that it was an intimidating purchasing experience, because, you know, you had to get the goggles. You had to get something to see. So another thing that we noticed was when we were walking around, we were always holding screens during the FPV events to watch other people's feet.
Oh yes.
Right. So then the natural progression came, like, why don't we combine an external viewer with a remote control, and then you can use that. If you're cheap like me, you can use that to get into FPV, right? And then like see whether that's your cup of tea, and then buy goggles and power them up with the Tango. So what a lot of people thought was like, okay, you're supposed to fly through the screen. No, that's not what it's for. The screen is there for spectating, for building your rigs when you're home at night, so that you don't always have to like, how's my OSD doing? You can actually just look over, all right, doing fine. Do your settings or whatever, and then like maybe as a newbie, coming in, it lowers the barrier to entry in terms of price. So these were the two considerations why the FPV screen in there.
I actually like when I saw people tiny whipping with the Tangos, I was like, that's an awesome idea.
Oh yeah. I mean, this happened like completely by mistake, right?
Yeah.
I won't credit myself for that. Like when we made the Tango, we didn't think about tiny whips. But now people like, for me, this is the perfect tiny whip controller. Even though it's like larger than 15 tiny whips combined. But it's just the right size so that the screen, that you can actually fly through it very comfortably.
And that's one of the things I can say is like, I don't own one, but I've flown it, and I was very impressed on the way it felt. Like, at first I thought, oh, it's just going to be like one of those stupid little kid controllers, and then I was like, this has got some nice gimbals, decent gimbals in it. It feels good. And I looked at the program. The programming options is like phenomenal, right? I mean, you got all of these options in there. And, the cool thing is you actually gave guys some little hacker codes to go in there and do stuff, and that's pretty cool. Because
get the middle finger going.
yeah, because you got like a lot of guys who are in this hobby, not just to fly, not just to race, but to tinker. So that this radio gives them an opportunity for something else for them to do. Some other tangent they can go on a midnight run or whatever. I got a buddy of mine who's building a water cooled battery tester in his house. Just to test batteries. Now, what's the real usage for that for him? Not much. But the fact is that he's doing it. I mean, it's something that he wants to do. So there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of hacker guys like me. I used to build RF amplifiers and stuff like that, and CB equipments and big giant antenna arrays and stuff like that as a hobby. And now that I just fly, but those are the things that leaves the door open for other pilots to do when they're not racing or they're not, because if you actually get your quad tune right, you're done.
That never happens, by the way.
It's a totally different hobby. Yeah, it never happens. Yeah.
One thing that I hope that you get a chance to do, because it was really smart to not build in the transmitter module. You actually can just put in whatever you want so that you can, translate it to whatever receiver you like. I hope you guys can work with Connex and have a Connex unit that you can put in there that will work with that screen, because that would be really awesome, because that thing is just a pain in the ass to carry around all the time. But then you would need to combo it with something else. I don't know. Just an idea, but it's definitely interesting. I got a few buddies over here that absolutely loves that controller, and they take it everywhere with them. Although, it's kind of funny because they always have to switch out modules in the back, because a little tiny whoop, they need to slot in one, and then they fly their big quads, they need to slot in another one. So they're not carrying a big controller anymore, but they're carrying like 3 modules. I'm like, so you need to figure out a way to combo all 3 modules into one or something like that.
Well, there is a module on Banggood that we actually made work, and it supports like 45 different protocols. So that's one. Yeah, it's like everything known to man. It's like they have like they call it the China bands. So like all of the
Mhm.
little toys that you buy, like machines, with the like little shitty remotes, you can control those. Um, control Fly Sky, you can control FR Sky, and you can control Spectrum. Um,
Mhm.
with just one module. It's a bit of a hack, but like Elvin said, for the people who want to hack, they can go ahead and do that. And the other ones just buy the modules. Um, yeah, the module thing was a little bit of a disturbing thing because that's what makes the Tango so big. It's not the fact that there is a screen inside or anything. It's the module bay on the back that has a minimum size, which is like retarded big,
Yeah, nowadays
right?
because like
Well, yeah.
the wafer board's not needed for a transmitter nowadays. It's probably the size of the VTX if you wanted to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You could make it so like I mean, people can fit like 4 different transmitter modules, including all the programming and
In
everything,
that one,
in, in
yeah.
in that size, and it's like still like you could make it half the size, right? So it's I don't know. That
Eventually.
that's just unfortunate for that JR became the standard. Um,
No,
yeah.
it's not unfortunate. Don't say that.
You talking to the biggest JR fan in the world. He's gonna fight you
Oh
on
no,
that one.
I'm a huge. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge JR fan. It's just like something that's really old managed to stay a standard for that long, right?
Well, I mean,
Um,
because it's not really JR's fault. It's Fataba's actually.
oh yeah,
Fataba
like,
is the one that actually made. I mean, okay, I'm gonna age myself a little bit, but yes, I'm from that era where radios had 72
He's
megahertz
actually
modules,
70 years old.
27. We had 27 megahertz modules in the back of our radios. Then we went to 72 megahertz because the CB truckers was shutting down. Guys would be out in the field flying. Some dude would come by with a CB radio and go, breaker one, and somebody's plane would go down. Boom! And we knew it was the truckers, but we just couldn't catch them because most CB radio guys run amplifiers, right?
yeah, of course they do. Yeah.
So that's what it was. But it's Fataba's fault that
Uh-huh.
the module.
Uh-huh.
JR
Okay.
just accepted that module as the standard size.
Yeah. Hey,
All right.
standards, they
Well, now
last
it's called the
forever.
JR module. So yeah.
Right.
So they won in the
Anyway.
end because they got the name. Okay, anyways. And what's really cool is that all the products that we just talked about pretty much they all integrate with each other, and like you pretty much like buy a Vendetta and a Tango and you're ready to go out there and fly. It's pretty easy. So anybody who we actually have a lot of people that listen to the podcast that haven't started flying yet, which is kind of odd because like most of the time we're knee deep into like a lot of FPV stuff that I think for newbies would confuse them, but if you go out and get a Vendetta and a Tango, you're all set. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
You're
and
not
it's going to tie in a lot closer. There's going to be some software updates coming next. Well, it's already next year. So this month, that will. I don't know if you already saw. Like we talked about the push button commands right before. There is now a public beta on the OpenTX running on code that TBS co-developed that can change your video transmitter channels on the radio. So
Can you
that
shut it
kind
off?
of gives you, yes, you can like turn it off through the radio. You can, or I mean, you're going to be able to turn it off through the radio. It's all right now. What we've got is we can control the VTX, and then what you have to do is just write a couple of Lua scripts to enable all this kind of functionality, like make a on-off switch, or make a timer, whatever you really want to do. It's now the remote control can control the VTX, so that means it goes from the screen out through the RF, in the RF on the drone, into beta flight, and from beta flight into the VTX.
That's
So
cool.
establishing that chain of communication required a lot of groundwork. So this is what we were working on the last 4 to 5 months here, and it's going to tie into a lot of functionality that nobody else will be able to replicate, simply because we have all this infrastructure in place. And this is also what I was talking about like before, like building from the bottom up. If you build this solid foundation, now you can do stuff that is just absolutely mind blowing. Like we have a beta on one of my engineers made me a sample of where the VTX follows my Tango screen. So if I change the channels on the Tango, the VTX starts following.
That's cool. That's like frequency hopping with your VTX. That would be pretty cool. So if it starts getting fuzzy, you can hop over to a new one. Oh, that'd be awesome. It actually make you trust 5A a little more.
Yeah.
But well, I mean, we can't put that out to the market because you're going to be crashing a lot of people.
Oh.
But it was just like a proof of concept built here, and that's going to roll out.
But if it changes fast enough, we all can pretty much deal with a 1 or 2 second blip. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that. You're gonna give us a lot. Okay, you're right. Don't give it to people. It'd be terrible.
Yeah,
exactly. The whoever has that function is going to need to deal with punches.
Yeah. I do remember a 3 second blip where I hit a fence at about 80.
Yeah. That never ends well.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good to have other people's faces on the thing.
No, it's not. But you know what? Definitely some cool integration, and like that's like one of the dreams of like event organizers is to be able to turn off somebody else's crash quad so that they can either lift off with another quad or they're not blasting away near a ground station or something, screwing up with other people's VTXs and stuff like that.
That would help for a team race, right? That would help.
That's what I'm talking about. So
team race.
Stop it. Okay. Stop it. Definitely. Okay, so two more items that are really cool. You've been messing around a lot with timing systems, specifically frequency timing systems, and you've had all of them have been successful except for the fact that Worlds rained on you a whole lot, and weather in general just sucked in Worlds, but that we'll discuss that in a little bit. RF timing is just such a good idea because like anybody who's done event organizing and trying to get people to register their modules through whatever transmitter things that you want to do has always been a pain in the ass, and they're always expensive. They're usually like $40 to put on your quad. If you break one of those, you're gonna cry because they're expensive, right? So frequency timing makes a whole lot of sense, and you have two of them. You have one for individuals, which if you get enough of them together, you can still make it into a racing like chain if you really wanted to, and then you have a big expensive one for like large event organizers. So when you set out to do this, was it to solve the problem of giving people a cheap way to be able to time themselves, or was that something requested of you?
Guy just asked me something. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. So first of all, we didn't set out to do this. This was Florian's idea. He started a company called SRS Timing Solutions, or SRS Timing. And we figured out a way to partner up with Florian. So he works for TBS full time now, and we have made him part of our family. Because I believe that there's no point to make a timing system just by its own. Right? It has like a timing system is the central core of an event. So it needs to tie into other stuff all around the event, like video transmitters, antennas, all of this has to be like a complete solution. And Florian seemed to agree. So, I mean, it's one of the things where 1 + 1 = 3. So where TBS was able to supply our hardware into making this actually affordable. Because if you look at the Airbirds timing, the easy race lap timer, it's called. This is one of our competitors. It costs them a lot more to make in terms of price. So I was kind of expecting them to drop the price when we launched. Not as much as they did, which was pretty surprising. But like we wanted to make something that was affordable and mass producible, which Florian's solution really wasn't that. He's very good on software. He's a very creative mind. He's very smart, but he didn't have that kind of hardware, experience and knowledge, and the factory to back it up, because that's what you need as well. Right? You need to have the
supply chain. Yep.
The supply chain to make it all work. So that's why we went I'm partnered up with Florian first to make this year the TBS race tracker, right? So this is that thing that this ties to your mobile phone, and then he came back to us and said, you guys were so fast. Like, it took us 3 months to turn his product into an actual product, um, and and then tie it together with the mobile phone and everything. And he said, well, you guys have done a really amazing job with this. How about like we work together, not just on this project, but on the whole, like, just here, take my company, and let's make this work together also. So we turned around and made the event tracker hardware, from what it was at Worlds to what it is right now, and even what it was before. Like, before he soldered up every single module with a cable, and I think his wife made his wife do it. um, so so she was like building one timing system every 2 days or something like that, and now we're building like 20 a day, just based on the efficiency that we have, um, with the PCBs and all the hardware that we built into it.
Yeah, he dropped again.
Was it? Are you getting me fine?
Yeah, me and you are fine. It's him.
Yeah, he's from Hong Kong, though. I mean, that's kind of to be expected, you know.
He's on the other side of the world, so
he's on the other side of the pond. The personal tracker. One of the interesting things that you did, and like, I'm kind of curious on how you got to it, was that you actually let a third party connect to your hardware, like Drone Squad,
Yep.
right? So was that a collaboration that just came from them asking, or did you already set out to do that? Because like, not a lot of people do that, right? Not a lot of people say, "Hey, connect to my hardware," and like allow them to do it.
Mm-hmm. It was a very bold move. We still have the right to make our own app, but it's an exclusive deal with Drone Squad. And I mean, we have made our own app, but we're trying to keep the functionality completely separate. In my opinion, Pete from Drone Squad shares a lot of the long-term goals that I have for this, which I don't really want to talk about too much. But
That's fine.
It was just a perfect match from, like, it's like that moment where you meet somebody and it's like, so we got this. And then the other guy goes, and now we can do this. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then we can do this, right? And then the other guy's like, yeah, I know.
All right, and then he come along and just plug it in there. Hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. And people are like, here's your money. Let's make it happen.
Do that.
So yeah, that was the collaboration with Drone Squad. And Drone Squad is a really awesome company. Pete is doing an amazing job. He's fighting uphill battles, like with all this Android crap and like Android 4, 5, 6, and 7.1, 7.2, and iPhone, like 7 different versions, and all need to tie into this Bluetooth thing, which isn't connected properly. So it looks like, from a customer point of view, it's like, why doesn't this just work? But on the other hand, like, the technology is really complex. And I think the past 3 to 4 months we've just spent on like making the connection more reliable, so that the features that we build on top of that will work so much better.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, Pete contacted me, and we need to get him onto the podcast, but I figured I'd talk to you first. But that's really cool that, like, that's one of the hallmarks of what kind of makes a great company great, is being able to collaborate with other people and trusting other people. Because, like, hearing people from like Alex, saying that they work with you and it's so simple to work with you, and then you're working with other software companies, that's kind of what we need more of, like a lot more of. We need more big companies that says, we like, of all the communities out there that does hobby stuff, this is by far the smartest community. Like, literally everybody's a tech geek in this community. If we can harness even like a 10th of that, like, our hobby would be like tenfold better. So if we can do it.
Yeah.
So
I'm a very open guy to collaborations. Like, if anybody listening to this wants to reach out to me, just send me an email if you have any ideas. Usually, like, it's a very fair collaboration. I have a very good track record. Nobody has complained about me so far. in my opinion, if TBS can contribute something to your project, um, then it's a win-win for both of us. Right? Usually, like everybody that's involved in a project has to give 100%, and then it works, right? If somebody is if it is like a collaboration where you just say like, hey TBS, I got this idea, you make it, right? It's not going to work
It
because
has to.
it's only
Yep.
100% TBS and it's 5% of you. So it's like, what do you bring to the table that actually we don't have, and what do we bring to the table that you don't have, and then together we make, like, the Triumph. The Triumph is, in my opinion, still the best antenna on the market, in terms of price, in terms of performance, in terms of durability. If you take all these factors, the video transmission range, the signal quality, all of that stuff combined, and that is Alex, right? Uh, and the durability part, the mass production part, like the supply chain part, that is TBS. So, we worked together on this, and we had Alex here and tinkering on this stuff. And the product that came out was better than anything that TBS could have ever made. Like, TBS started on the Triumph by ourselves. And we just, like, at some point in time, we were like, okay, let's call in Alex, let's call in the professionals.
He would have wanted in anyways. Alex is like the
Oh, yeah.
true nerd when it comes to antennas.
Yeah.
But
no, Alex is a fantastic guy. Like, he just loves the challenge. He doesn't care about money, and I'm exactly the same guy, right? We like, I always say, like, I don't give a fuck about money, and people like, yeah, whatever, But it's really that, I don't draw a salary from TBS. Like, TBS pays my living expenses. That's it, right?
oh,
And I eat at McDonald's. I eat at McDonald's every morning. Like, my regular meal is $5, so I have fucking no expenses at all, right? And it's just like, for me, I need to be able to do something creatively, push the limits of everybody that's around me, and money always comes naturally. Like, I could probably stop working right now. I haven't even checked. It just, if you do something that's great and you don't stress the money factor of it, it always comes off as a lot more legitimate than somebody like that's trying to rip money out of your wallet.
Oh yes, and
yes,
hallmark of success right there, folks. So you can learn a lot from Trappy. You need to write a book. No, don't write a book. You can if you want to, though. So
I don't have the time to write books.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the Big Brother. I forget what it's called. Do you have the name for the Big Brother? I can't remember. Like the ones for the
event tracker.
Yeah, that's the name, right? Yep. So the event tracker is the big puppy, and that sucker is meant for organizers. And you're like I saw the videos on Facebook, so like just give me some quick highlights, because there's some really cool stuff in there. I particularly like the concept in which you can do splits between two event trackers if you link them together. That's a really cool idea. Like, and then I saw like the Facebook page in which you're actually just importing stuff directly from MultiGP, and then you can just feed it in. It's like, it's basically turnkey at this point almost. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen it work yet, so I'm assuming it's going to be turnkey eventually. Like, what is the vision there? What is done to you?
So if you're an event manager, the way I see an event is, you are the center of the event, right? Mm-hmm. You're the guy with the microphone and with the blaster, and you control this event. But there was no technology that would back you up, right? It was a hack of like an infrared timing system, together with software, bundle of your choice. MultiGP has the free one. There's Lifetime RC. That's awesome. But it was not an integrated solution. And the protocol between the two was serial, right? I don't know, like, serial is like 1975 type of technology, right? I was like, what the? So are you serious? Like, we have Wi-Fi here, Yeah. we have Ethernet. It's a standard, and it makes everything so much more powerful. So that was the vision behind all this. Like, let's bring all this technology to the 20th century, not even 21st. Like, we don't want to go overboard. let's just 1990s technologies. Let's put those in that, and enable people to use Wi-Fi to connect to the timing system and check their own times, because everybody's got a device that they can use to connect to it. And then like the TV support it. So like in Hawaii, we were just using Wi-Fi to connect to the timing system, and then just show like broadcast the timing results. So once it's all centralized, so based on these centralized technologies, you can do really awesome stuff. And again, minds will be blown in 2017. I can assure you that. Like we will be doing a lot more stuff, around the timing area. So I can't talk a lot about it, but again,
well, I was told really that you guys are re-engineering basically about to change FPV as it is, So
I'm just what the marketing letter said. Right?
Hey, you got a really good person marketing.
The person that it came from is not really that good at marketing. So when that person said it, I was like, did y'all hear what he said? And they were like, no, what did he say? And I said, he said this. And if he said that, then things is about to change, because he knows what that's like. So
that's cool.
I'm excited.
So, let me clarify one thing, because I might have heard wrong. Are you allowing like the actual pilots to be able to Wi-Fi connect to it to check their own times? Was that one of the features?
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. Yep. Hey man, how many pilots can connect? Because I guarantee you they can overjam your device.
No, it's like, I mean, it's whatever the Wi-Fi router can handle, right?
Okay.
So it's a Raspberry Pi as a web server, which is, it can handle like 150 connections simultaneously. But the bottleneck is going to be the Wi-Fi. On the other hand, what you can do is connect an internet device to it, like a Wi-Fi dongle or whatever that takes you online, and then you can connect the Wi-Fi router to a dynamic IP, so that you can type in the URL and then you can stream it through the internet. That way, it takes all of the load off your Wi-Fi, and it just has one connection into the internet, and everybody accesses it through the internet.
All right, yeah, I need proof. I need to see this in real life before I believe you. But we'll see. But that's really cool. So like, I know the device itself is already available. Are you just going to keep pushing out firmware updates to actually get all of these features? And I guess you'll eventually, like, are you hoping to have all of your feature sets done by like end of 2017, or are you just going to keep? You don't even know where it's going to end.
It's never done. Like we always think about like 2 to 3 steps ahead in terms of hardware, so that we don't reach the limits of the hardware. Like, see this port right here,
right?
Right. This is the race tracker, and we have this port right here, and nobody knows what it's going to do.
Not even you.
Officially, I don't know.
That's bull.
So I got a question. Okay, so with the event tracker, you can track the event track. Well, the regular personal tracker, right? The personal tracker, you can link a bunch of those together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you need an event tracker to link a bunch of those together?
No.
Okay, so my next question is, can you link those to the event tracker?
No.
Ooh.
So these are two completely separate products, and we want to keep them separate. I mean, you can't link them on. Again, I can't talk too much.
Keep trying, Elvin. We'll get something out of him. We'll keep fishing.
Right.
I know.
But the idea is you link 8 of these to a mobile phone.
Okay.
To one mobile phone. So, and then you have Pete's Drone Squad software run the event for you.
Right.
Because what the big timing system is just 8 of these combined, and they don't talk via Bluetooth. They talk via some other language. I think it's SPI or I think it's
Something that your
analog.
partner came
I
up
don't
with.
know. Exactly. Something that I don't need to know about. So actually, what came first was the big timing system, and then
Mhm.
Florian came on and took that technology, like all that software algorithms that he built for the big timing system, and just scaled it down to this. We were more interested in this because I think it democratizes more than
Hmm.
the event trackers. The event trackers are very expensive. It's a centralized system. Like this year's democracy, the event tracker is communism, right? So let's go with democracy.
You heard it here, folks. We have we now we just need a feudal government and we'll be all set. Okay, so
Yeah.
now we know that you're highly integrating this with multi GP, but like if you're like one of the like the off branch leagues, like what ASL over on your side, Elvin or something like that, are they going to be
Yeah.
able to use this perfectly fine without having to use any of the multi GP stuff and all that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the tie into multi-GP is a step before and a step after the race. So you
Mhm.
can still run the race as it is with the standard timing system. The step before is everybody signs up on multi-GP. Every racer signs up to a specific race, and then you can just pull the race information, like the rules,
Mhm.
the pilots, the sequence of pilots. You can pull all that down into the race tracker and then start the race. So then the race runs in the regular event tracker, and then once it's done, or even during the race, it can publish results to the MultiGP
Wow.
website.
Yeah,
Right?
but you can do.
So
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, keep going if you need to have more.
yeah, so anybody that's running a regular race that doesn't care about MultiGP can just do that with the standard feature set. We've just extended the feature set for MultiGP to make it
Okay,
more convenient.
okay,
Now
cool.
that system worked great. Works great for quads, and we had a sample of it working great for wings in Hawaii. So, um, you know, the thing that I'm kind of wondering is there a proper location for like angle or whatever, like before we had to put the sensor the sensor on the gate at the same, and then we figured out, oh, you need more than one sensor on the same gate, to get guys turning at the same time at different angles, right? Because some guys turn to the left and some guys turn to the right, or they go in the gate, leaning to the left and correct to the right. Anyway, but so with all of these types of racing going on, and wing racing, which is coming up as supposedly the next big thing for 2017 um, to bolster on the next big race, right? Because we're talking about in the future that there's going to be bigger races or races coming up in the future where they were talking about at Sebring, they're talking about running wings at either this one or the next one, So what's in the future going in that direction?
So you first asked about the positioning. So like let's take a race course and let's assume this year's a race course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a bad race course layout because you have one part of the track that's circling back over near
Near
the
the
gate.
gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the better layout, and please excuse my drawing skills here, would be something like this, where you just have like the course is up here, and then you circle down and fly over the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's because you have that radius of a VTX like bubble that,
Mm-hmm.
that we used to fly through, and that radius has to be somewhat big so that we don't miss you flying through too fast or like at the corner of the gate. So it
Mm-hmm.
usually overshoots the gate by a factor of like 1 to 2. Um, um, so that's why like you should, like in Hawaii they had the problem of where you over and undered with the quad.
Mm-hmm.
If there were like newbies that went way too far on the over under, and then they triggered the timing on the finish line also because they were too slow to be
Mm-hmm.
recognized by the filter. Um, so that was one of the issues. It's like for VTX timing, you have to be knowledgeable about VTX timing. You have to set up your course so to cater for that. That being said, the limitations are not as strict as I drew up here.
Mhm.
Just it's all relative, right? So if your gate size is 5 meters, then leave like 15 to 20 meters. If your gate size is only 1 meter, you can get away with 3 to 4 meters.
Mhm.
I got you. And that's always a smart idea, especially when you're talking about proximity timing at this point, is, leave plenty of room on either side of the timing gate and you won't have a problem. Which, I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
that's usually pretty simple. So, really, if you bundle up everything that we just said, 2016 was a super busy year for you. Like is 2017
I
going to be
work.
the same way?
I average about 100 to 110 hours a week.
You are crazy. I understand though,
So
because I do
just
yeah.
to, like this is not just a hobby, or this is not just a job. This is both, right? So
This
I
is your
take my
life.
job
I mean,
time.
really.
This yeah
Yeah.
at 100.
Trappy's making
So this
his
is
mark.
it's also 6.5 days a week. So that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like TBS runs Saturday full and Sunday half. So I mean, not my staff, obviously. They still have a life. But all of our founders, like we're in this like 100%. And 2016 was super busy for us. But like, it's not even a match to what I'm up against right now. Like I think we have over 50 running projects
Ouch.
at
Holy
Wow.
TBS.
cow. Yeah.
And we release about 1 to 2 products every week. For the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Yes.
So I mean, some of them are not, like as elaborate as this. Like we
Mhm.
just had like a power cap shield that you can screw on top of the power cube, and it stabilizes your voltage with 2,000 microfarad of capacitance. So it's a
Mhm.
huge capacitor that's built into the back onto the top of the power cube, and it's just screw in again, like no soldering required. And something like that takes like half a day to, like, you get the idea, you make it, get somebody to produce it, and then it's out the door. But yeah, like I said, with over 50 running projects right now that are going to be released over the next 12 months. Yeah, 12 months. So that means, one week project, or on average a product every week.
wow.
Um, so
That's pretty
that's what's
crazy.
in store for 2017.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we don't do normal.
no, you don't do normal. And keep in mind, folks, like I only hit the highlights of what I thought was cool. Like he said, there was plenty of other stuff. So just go to his store if you
Right.
want to see all the other stuff. But like, yeah, we'll be here forever if we went through his inventory list.
Yes. Yes. True that. True that.
Okay. So next topic, and this one I am most interested in, is because I'm like Trappy. I'm not a big racer. I just don't have the time commitment to be able to do it well enough to actually compete well. I love what you're doing with the idea of long range multirotors at this point. You're putting lower KVs, extending
Yes.
out the propellers, and now you're taking this relatively easy thing to transport around, but you can go out really far and it stays in the air for more than 2 minutes. Like I saw you in Worlds and you were flying that thing up the mountain. And like I have DVR footage of this, but he was up in the mountains riding a thermal, and he was drawing 5 amps from his battery, which is unheard of from a quad. There's like most quads, you're like at least minimum 30 amps, from 4 motors and
Yeah.
something like that. And that is the coolest thing. What's pushing you to do that? Is that you're like, you know what? I still like long range. I'm just gonna do it in quads. Is that your concept?
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
why.
I mean, if you look at what DJI is doing, they're kind of going into this direction, right? They're making their quads a lot smaller, and with their technology and their awesome, like, digital video link and everything, they can go really far. So like 2 to 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers, it's not a problem. And same for us. Like we're just doing it with shittier stuff, right? We have analog cameras and analog video, but we got the GoPro on top just as well to make the cool footage. Um, but what I wanted to do is kind of empower people to shoot video without a gimbal, without anything, like back in the TBS Discovery days, but with a much smaller platform.
Mhm.
So I think we kind of overshot with the Gemini. We went too small, which worked out fine because everybody went too small, in my opinion as
With
well.
you.
Um, So we're kind of going back up to 6 and 7 inch now. Like Mr. Steele is flying a 6 inch quad for all of his video shoots that he does for long range, and he manages 10 to 12 minutes of flight times with that. That's a 6 inch alien with a GoPro strap. 12 minutes, that's not too bad. And now we're coming out with a 7 inch quad that weighs, I think it was about 50 grams, the entire frame.
Oh, the frame, okay.
Yeah. The whole quad all up weighs 300 grams with 7 inch propellers.
Wow.
And that's not even tuned yet. Like that's with the stock like brass standoffs on the power tube, no 2-in-1 ESCs, all just all stock. 300 grams. So you can probably take it down to about 280 grams. And then even further extend your flight time. But we have people flying this like for 30, 35 minutes.
It is,
which is very, very interesting.
Well, it blew me away when I saw the Vendetta with the new motors and the new
the longer
capacity.
arms and everything.
Yeah, I was like, now you're talking about taking that from just a production ship to actually giving everybody what we wanted in a couple of years ago. That's what we wanted out of Discovery. We wanted something that could fly for 20 minutes, that utilized the same battery. We didn't have to go out and spend and buy 4S 4000s or 4S 3000s. We could take a 2200, a 4S 2200 and fly for 20 minutes. That's and you don't really, if you design a quad properly, you don't really need a lot of power to do what you need to do, to fly. You can get the flight done. You can have the stability you need to shoot good, solid video, but you still need to be able to smooth it out. So dropping the KV on the motors and going to a bigger prop. I've said this many times before. I prefer flying a larger propeller ship because it's more efficient, because you larger props meaning it's more efficient. And when you use a larger prop, you need less energy. It tends to want to stay in the air longer. You just got to keep moving the prop. It just
What I love.
Plus, I mean, like once you're coming downhill, the power, like we come downhill at like 0.5, 0.6 amps. So that's like what the VTX is drawing, and the motors are actually regenerating. Like I would say, like 2 motors are regenerating, and the other 2 are drawing exactly that amount of power. That's why we're at like 0.5 amps. And it's just an amazing feeling to be able to fly like, for free through like 30, 40 second stretch of trees and that sort of stuff. To me, that's much more rewarding than flying around a track. Although that has its fun as well. You push yourself. Like I was actually saying, like last week we were at an event together with Magnus, who's here right now. He's our tuner. So he comes in and all of our squads, takes the standard tip. We were just like hanging out, flying around a race course, and right when I got in there and I said, I'm not racing today, I'm just doing freestyle. And everybody's like, oh, come on, let's try. And then like after the first round of batteries with the buddies, we were like 100% just racing. Like nobody gave a shit about freestyle. We were tuning a freestyle rig, but we were all racing. So there's a lot of fun in that. If you have the camaraderie, and you smack talk, you beat each other up like, oh, you fucking sucked in that corner.
That's where
then it starts. Right?
Yeah,
and that's also like that kind of opened up eyes for me as well. It's like, okay, racing can actually be fun, but on the other hand, if you have the additional flight time and it's like if you can go places that you cannot go normally.
Right.
I mean, here in Hong Kong, it's like all thick bush, and with snakes inside and shit. Like you only go there if you're searching for your quad. Like there's no other reason to be anywhere near that mountain unless you've just lost a bloody drone. So going up the mountain, up and down, up and down. To me, that's just a completely different out of body experience. When you're up there, you just think like, okay, in my mind, I'm up there, but physically, I'm still, in safety and down here. So that's, to
It
me,
is
that's
really
what
cool.
FPV is about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like popping up. I know here in the United States we have the 450-foot limit. But I really like popping up at 600 feet just for a moment. Just whip, and then
Hey,
you get like another 10 seconds.
Hey, you're within the altitude limits of that mountain at 400 feet now.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
it's HEL. If the mountain
exactly.
goes up, you can go up.
That's what I'm saying.
Up here, so
What
couple of hundred footers.
What I really love about long range quads is that the video is much easier to watch if you're watching it, because like on a wing, it's like the video experience post is not that great because it's really choppy, especially around mountains. It gets gusty up there. But like when you see a quad, when it does that, it's it's got a flight controller in it. It's smooth. It looks good on the way up and it looks good on the way down. So I love it. Like when I think it was like Bonky UK, when he went all the way up that mountain and came all the way back down, I was like, wow, that's really cool. It's like, I want to do that. Not on 5.8.
Yeah, that's well. Benny was flying all on stock gear, so he had a Tango. He had his regular, or no, sorry, he didn't have a Tango. He had his regular Free Sky, and he flew it through his, I think it was a Furious or whatever module he has with just super stock.
Trudy.
Once you go to 800 milliwatts.
I know.
Okay. So,
yes, he told me. I still wouldn't have tried to do that, but I guess hey, he got free stuff from you, so he can go destroy it. I had to buy my shit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but well, there's also something like when I'm a lot older now than I used to be when I started off, and when we started off, we used to do like the most stupid shit, right? It's just like, oh my god, how the hell did you get your plane back from doing that? And why the hell did you even do it in the first place? It doesn't make any sense. So I think he's still in that age group where he doesn't care.
Exactly.
And it's really awesome to watch like this. He just like he ran into my room at 7 a.m. in the morning, and he was like, "Trappy, let's do long range. Trappy, let's do long range." I was like, I just got out of bed. I gave him the quad. I was like, "Here, do
get out of here. I'm going back to bed.
Let me sleep."
That's what I would have just kicked him out and be like, forget it.
So I was actually supposed to fly up that mountain and down, but I was sleeping at that time because Manny was just like, let's do this. We're racing in 2 hours. Like, yeah, let's do it during the race and just forget about it. But he wouldn't have it. He was flying that the G2 frame. Every free second that he had, he was like, let's go there, and then let's go there. Okay, all right, just do it.
I know if I'd have had one, I'd have taken it somewhere where some people couldn't go.
I know.
Well, I think it's gonna be available today. I just finished a website, so we have to merge everything up and then put it up for the retailers to buy, and then we're gonna put it online. So yeah, it's gonna be epic.
So now we kind of talked about quads. We talked about your products as the VTXs, as the big event tracker, the personal tracker. I mean the TBS tracker for single units and multiples, because it can be soon possibly linked. Anyway, and we all know that. Like I said before, that wing racing is starting to become a thing. And there's a lot of guys actually, like the Vegas thing. It happened last weekend, and Shelby Vaughn won first place. And
he sponsored it, so you should know.
Well, yeah, yes, you did. And
I did want to sponsor it. We didn't have the stock, so my apologies, Alex. And I don't know, Merrill was running the event.
I didn't know you read out stock
in the system. We're building the event trackers now. And we're going to ship them very late. But I hope Alex can forgive me. We were really
I'm sure y'all will work something out.
Sorry, didn't realize that didn't happen.
But so
anyway, it's gonna happen. Yeah.
So with that, with Shelby winning, who's a great pilot, who's been doing this for a long time. He's a pilot from long back, like me, and who's been doing many hours of flying, of all types. What do you think is the next step to move wings forward and into the next race realm?
Okay, so if you look at FPV ring racing, it ticks all of the boxes that quads don't. Right, that's the interesting part. Right, they're all the same speed. They all run on the same technology, more or less. But what wings have over quads is, first of all, coming from a corporate background, they have the advertising space. Right? The little quads, where are you going to put a Red Bull sticker on a little quad?
Right.
So that everybody can see it. Whereas the wing, you can just kit it out. It has the spectator appeal because it's noisy. It's a lot more noisy. It's bigger. You can LED them up, and then everybody's going to see. And I think it also has the more range and more flight time, so that it doesn't become like watching porn for 3 minutes. It's actually like a long. It's a much longer circuit, right? So you can actually haul ass for 10 minutes, right? Which is pretty cool. So these are the ingredients that wing racing has going for it. The things that it doesn't have going for it right now is the wing races are not really organized enough. Like in Hawaii, it was confusing to watch because the paths kept crossing, so I never had an idea who was actually the first. The second thing is the rules and regulations. Like, one of the things that I'm sure Alex would have loved to do was make a race. If you picture the valley in Hawaii, up one side of the hill, over, and then down the other side. Yeah, and that's one race, right? I mean, it's going to be full throttle all the way, and it might be a little bit boring for the pilots, but it's going to be much more interesting for the spectators, especially if they're close and if they're coming down the mountain, and you can just see from the distance, it's like, oh my God, they're battling it out. That's really, really interesting. So I think FPV racing, like the whole, the wing racing guys, they need to get together and figure out how to make this more dramatic to watch. That, in my opinion, is the biggest weakness right now, and that's why wing racing hasn't taken off.
I totally agree with that. That I think, when we first started off with racing quads, we had a smaller tracks. We had more simple tracks. It required less skill and more time on the track. You didn't remember, like, first, I remember when I was first making gates, right? I made a gate that was like this big, this, from hand to hand, right? Yep. Wide, right? And I figured that was huge to me. I mean, I could fly through it. I didn't have any problems flying through a gate that big. And then I went to go fly with some other guys, and I'm like, holy crap, I can drive my car through here, right? But what that happened was it made the racing easier for everybody, right? It making the door bigger gave everyone an opportunity. More guys saw the gate as a door instead of a hallway, right? Yeah. And like I've said this before, it's easier to fly through the door than to fly all the way down the hallway, right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So with that thought process going, now we got to take the wing racing there. We got to simple things up so that at first people start to get used to flying wings, because a lot of guys don't fly wings and they don't really have a lot of understanding of the things that go on when you're building a wing. Like, they don't understand that you can move the winglets forward and back and up and down to help stabilize a ship, because all of these ships have inadequacies when they've been built or designed that need to be adjusted in the process of building to counter those negativities, right? And only pilots like you, me, Shelby, Alex, guys that's been flying for 5-10 years and built 10 or 15 of the wings that they own, know these tricks on how to do these things. So these newer pilots, we have to make things easier for them in the beginning so that they can come out and have a great day instead of destroying the wing and going home pouting about it, and be able to come back the next morning and fly again. That's one of the things about when we first started laminating wings. Remember when we first started laminating wings, we were like, oh my God, you can crash and go flying again. Where before we was crash up, gotta go home, gotta go build another one. You know what I mean? Or glue it back together. And I think that's where I want to see. I think if we just make the tracks a little bit more simpler, it'll make things easier and a more compelling race.
I totally agree with that, and it's not just something that the wing guys are getting stuck on. It's actually the drone guys are just as bad, because they make these complex, like, hallway corridor, like, 8 take off and like 2 finish. It's like, that's not a race. Okay, guys, come on. Like, if 8 take off and not more than 50% of them finish, it's not much of a race. And I think where people get caught up, and it's something that, like, it's hard to explain, is the track should be in the background. You shouldn't really focus in on a track as one of the attractions to go see it. The attraction should be this pilot versus this pilot who's actually going to win, right? So what like, if you make a simple track, the purpose of what keeps the pilots involved is the competition of the guy next to you, not you trying to fly the track, So simpler is better. And, like, we can go into that forever, but I totally agree with you. It's like the pilots have the wrong mentality. Quit focusing on the track and focus in on your competition, and make that the mainstay of what's going to grow. The main selling point of your sport is that competition, and to make that wonderful and great, because that's the reason why NASCAR can go around an oval and still be really compelling.
Yeah. Well, it would also, like, I think event organizers, people like Multirotors, Chris, if you're listening, they need to step up to the plate and actually help the industry to stabilize, right? Because the races are the outlet for everything that is happening. So if they say 2,300 kV and that's it, 5x4x3, and everybody else just get the hell lost. 1,300 milliamp packs, 75C, that's it, right? Then you set the kind of goals for the companies to develop in, and you make them much more narrow, so that these incremental improvements actually mean something.
Right. And they're more focused. Now the products are focused.
Exactly. They're focused. They're focused, and it becomes a lot cheaper for the pilots, because they can say, okay, I can commit to buying 50 packs of batteries that are this size, and it's not going to change, because everything else that comes after this is not going to be allowed to be raced. Right. Like, let's say, like, you got these graphene version 2 or whatever. Like, just a little promotion to the side. Like, I tried the new Dynergy batteries. They're bloody awesome, right? And they give you much more kick than whatever other battery is out there. Sorry, Mr. Pulse. I haven't tried the Pulse battery, to be honest, but I'm just like, but the immediate reaction in the FPV industry right now is like, fuck all the other batteries, I'm going all Dynergy now, right? But that's not going to last, because in 1 or 2 weeks, the Pulse guys are going to go, well, we're not selling any batteries anymore, or we need to make a new battery, right? So it's like continuous step. But if
that works for me, because then I get extra batteries.
Yeah, I know.
Let's finish off the story properly.
Yeah,
You're gonna get those. Oh, sorry. 1 second. You're gonna get the extra batteries, not used to the power, and immediately crash and have to rebuild their quad. That's what really happens.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you need then you need the more powerful motors again. But yeah, it's all like it's all going way too fast, and it doesn't really have to be, because it's kind of also destroying the competition. Because if you're a regular Joe Schmo who has a regular 9 to 5, you're not going to be able to afford to keep up with Night Fury or with Mr. Steel or with Chad Nowak, who has all these. I mean, that he's not getting paid, right? But if Chad snaps his fingers, he's going to get all the motors that he wants. Same for Mr. Steel, same for Night Fury, right? I mean, now they're being tied down by contracts and all that stuff, but it's Night Fury can only fly, I think it's Hobby King motors or whatever. So, but the underlying problem is like let's make this more accessible. Let's make it more about competition rather than the material. And this coming from an FPV manufacturer should set some weight to it, because I mean we could make a lot of money from people just keep buying.
Mm-hmm.
All we would have to do is drop our prices, don't give a shit about our engineering anymore, and offer free shipping, because that's what everybody wants. But that's not what is going to move this industry forward.
No, and it'll slowly kill it. Like this actually wraps up great into our last subject, because I don't want to keep you forever, because we would go forever. Is like I don't know if it's Korea, so you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong, but you did a speech and said the death of drone racing, and one of the key factors is probably that if we keep going down this cycle of just buying stuff and constantly buying more stuff, we're eventually gonna kill every company that wants to make stuff for us, and then eventually like the casual guys, which you really need, because the casual guy makes up the bulk of us. They're not going to want to do it anymore.
Class.
Yeah. So, like
the middle class of politics. Yeah.
Yeah. So, give us a summary of that. What you said and why it's so important.
So yeah, I mean the first summary, or the first important summary, was I was the only one actually speaking out against drone racing at that conference. And trying to or negatively about drone racing, and I thought it was my I had to do it because I'm the black sheep, right? So when I saw the titles of like what everybody else was talking about, it just sounded like a giant circle jerk. Everybody's like, yeah, we've done a great job. We like drone racing is blown up, and all of that is true, right? I'm not saying that's not true, but there are very fundamental problems in this industry, and I summarized it to 3 points. One was cost for the pilots, so we've talked about that in the past hour or so. With them having to continuously travel to places, upgrade their gear, all of that sort of stuff. It's just it's tiring the pilots out, and the competition is getting harder. You have to quit your job to be a #1 drone racer right now.
Right.
You have to quit your job. So how are you going to make money?
Tell me, please.
So, yeah, everybody's wondering about that, including us.
I don't have the answer to that question. I don't we try to solve it for Mr. Steele. Mr. Steele's been a very good friend of mine. When I heard like the whole the struggle that Chad and Mr. Steele and Tommy and well, not Charpu, because Charpu actually still has a job.
Right.
But the struggles that they go through, I just thought like, well, Mr. Steele, why don't you just work with us? Make something that you want. We'll sell it for you, and we'll give you the profit. And then you can earn a living doing what you like. We can make a couple of bucks on the proceeds of the motor sales, and everybody wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are one of the options that the pilots have. A lot of people will say, "Oh, that's selling out, whatever." No, it isn't.
But you gotta eat. You gotta eat. I mean, you can. People can talk about selling out, but if you want to see the pilots continue on doing what they're doing, they have to be fed. I mean, none of this snitz is cheap. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can go out right now. I can go out and buy a set of motors for $28 or $30 for all four. and put them on my quad, and they will work. And when the bearings go bad, I can buy another set for $28. But that's not the average guy. The average guy goes out and spends $30 a motor or $25 a motor, puts them on his quad because he wants to keep up with steel, or he wants to be in the same group or to click with the rest of the guys. And he spends his money and they break and he's ass out, and then he has to go the cheap route because he spent too much money in the first place, right? So yep. I strongly believe that you these guys, you're going to have to feed these pilots with something. And because there's so many races going on all over the world, right? There's still not enough money to feed, say, the top 20 pilots.
Yeah.
Because nobody's really making any money except for the manufacturers that are staying solid, right? That done their research, then done their research and development, and it is building on a product or a basis like TBS. DJI has done their work over time, and that's why they're still doing what they're doing. 3DR failed to keep up and couldn't keep a product that could stay out front and was easy to use, because that was the biggest problem with 3DR was the fact that it took 3 months to learn how to operate the damn thing before you could fly it properly, right? And then so Steele, Chad, Tommy, who's one of my favorite pilots, Ockbots, Ryan Hart, Ryan Walker, a couple of guys, Beast Mode. Those are some of my favorite pilots. And those guys have kids. Some of them have kids. Some of them have wives. Some of them have, school loans and stuff like that. You got to pay. And you just, a starving artist is a starving artist because he's not selling nothing, right? It's not because he's good or he's not good. It's because he's not selling. And these guys can't be starved. You can't be starving when you're sitting there trying to fly through a gate that's this big.
Yeah. But I mean, the point about there's a difference between selling out and making products, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's say I have this charger here. Let's write I don't know Elvin on it. Sorry, I don't know your pilot name. Let's write that on it, and you get 20 cents for every charger that I sell. Right?
Yeah.
To me, that's selling out because it had nothing to do with this product. You couldn't care less whether it was a black or a white charger and all of that stuff, right? So that's completely different. What we did with Mr. Steele was we said, here's a factory. I'll be the guy between your factory, and you tell me what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you have control from the screws that go into this, to the windings that go into this, to the color and shape of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and then of course we made suggestions, or we had motor specialists that made some suggestions, and we tried out like 40 or 50 different prototypes to get Mr. Steele to that point. But it's actually a product that Mr. Steele developed, not just something that he put his name on. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So he, like, a lot of the haters are going like, oh, it's just a fucking motor with a mustache on it. No, it's a motor that Mr. Steele designed. He of course, again with consultation, made a pricing decision. He wanted to sell it at this price. He wanted retailers to make this amount of money. He wanted TBS to make this amount of money, and he wanted himself to make this amount of money. So it's more than just selling out. Like the pilots need to understand that they have a lot of knowledge that they can use to contribute to this industry and actually make something that goes completely against what everybody else is doing. Like the people are asking for thrust test numbers on the Mr. Steele motors. They're going to come out and they're not going to be good. I can guarantee you they're not going to be good. The efficiency is going to be up, the power is going to be down, and that's what Mr. Steele wanted. We wanted to get the maximum amount of power out of a certain amount of amps drawn on Mr. Steele's rig. So if you fly Mr. Steele's rig, we are going to guarantee that you're not going to be burning any batteries. Sorry, Mr. Pulse.
That's good. That's good.
so it's a much more sustainable ecosystem, and that's what Mr. Steele wants, right? Because he flies every day and he understands much better the market than all of these Chinese idiots right now that are dictating
Or pushing,
this
pushing.
throwaway. Yeah, they're just pushing like, how about you try this and how about you try this? It's like a blind chicken picking for corn, right? Eventually they're going to get something that's successful, and then that's going to be the poster child, and then everybody's going to be, oh, I want to be like that guy, and then keeps picking more until they found the bloody corn. And that's not how it's done, right?
Yeah,
You've got to get
I'm a
like you
strong
got to get the
fan.
knowledge.
I'm a strong fan for you learning to fly what you have. I'm a very
Exactly
strong.
that. Eating your own dog food. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, buy your stuff, use it and use it and use it till you can go. You know what? I think I've pushed the limit of what I had. You know,
Yeah.
and not. Oh
Okay.
my God! Did you see the new motors that came out yesterday? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So that was point one of the speech. I'll go through it much faster now. Point two is um the cost to manufacturers. So one, you have the cost for the pilots. Two, you have the cost for manufacturers. And that was also, like, we talked about this at length already. Like, people are not really making any money. They're not creating anything sustainable. It's all just like puff, hot air. And at the end of the day, you're left with nothing, right? Because I mean, it's just like dead motors and dead ESCs that nobody wants to buy anymore.
Right.
And also, the third, and that point hasn't been touched on yet, and that is, I think, is one of the most critical points, is the shifting buying behavior of consumers. So I apologize. This is a little bit like from speaking from somebody that does this 110 hours a week. But what we are noticing is that people are more interested in a quick buy, and they're going up any related to FPV. Like when Elvin and I started, there were 2 or 3 FPV related shops online. Now we have about 200 or 300, but people are not buying from these shops anymore. They're going to Amazon, they're going to eBay, they're going to Banggood. So that's taking money out of the local infrastructure.
Right, because I'm about to lose
Companies,
a local hobby shop here in Portland, and one that's been here since '93 is about to disappear because he can't support himself. The market is no longer there.
The market is no longer there. Everybody's shifting off to these places, and don't expect Amazon to give a shit about your FPV race.
Right.
Please don't. If you're an FPV racer and you want to make this your living, you need to think about who is committed to FPV. Right? These are the people that you want to support. Whether it's with $1 or $2 of donations, you send a little bit of money to the pilots that are creating videos, or whether it's a purchasing decision, whether you're going to buy from Ready-Made RC or from Multirotor Mania versus Banggood or Amazon. That is like the money that you spend on these other shops that leaves the community. Right? For the most part. I mean, some of the stuff that's sold on Amazon and it will come back to TBS, but like a 30% or 25% or 20% margin that goes to Amazon rather than the local hobby shops.
Right.
And that is one of the most or one of the biggest challenges for FPV drone racing, because we're not yet. I mean, DRL has made it. They have got the Bud Light and these sponsorships. But like people like Y who has made the Mega Drone X, and let's bring up Scott again, from BSA, who's running those kind of races. They're not going to be able to sustain their business without support from the industry. So, and if people are moving money out of this out of the industry and spending it somewhere else, that money is not going to come around and pay for events. Because what benefit does Amazon have if they sponsor your race? Everybody already knows about Amazon, right?
True.
That's their big thing, and they would rather invest into making the sale, which means advertising online, controlling the FPV groups, spending like short term like flash sales and that sort of stuff. It's very very good at capturing the sale with a little bit of spending for a business. So that's much more controlled and that's much more scientific than going out and spending money like the multi-GP national championship. The sponsorship title was a certain figure amount. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't an unbelievable amount, but it was for a company like TBS. It was a big amount that we spent with absolutely zero return on investment. Right? I mean, my dad, he runs like big $1 million companies, and I told him what we were going to do, and he said like you're an idiot. You're just like you're throwing money at something that is not going to pay you back. But I see it much differently. I see it like we've had a good season at TBS. We've been successful. So we're giving back. Right? This is my approach to this. It's not about like paying to the future. It's about respecting what people have done for you in the past, and then giving them a little bit of money to maintain that growth. I mean, the money just pretty much one-to-one went to Sean Taylor, right? Who won the event. So it's money that keeps him going. He had to fight for it really hard throughout the entire season. And he's a sponsored pilot by another company. So actually, Hobby King was getting a glory shot. With the we don't care. It doesn't matter, right? There was not an expected return on investment from this sort of thing. Like we weren't there making sure that our flags were set up front and center and that everybody was forced to fly the TBS Unified Pro. We just gave them away for free. Like here, take it, try it out. If you like it, tell your friends about it. That was it. That was the entire marketing that we did at the event.
It was great, by the way. Yeah,
and it worked.
Thank you. Well, we did the same thing with Megadrone X. I don't think we dictated anything, as far as I remember, in terms of like where our flags would have to be and all of that stuff. This is just like, okay, you got a great idea. We're going to sponsor it. We don't expect any return on investment, but we will expect the customers to recognize this and buy from our shop in the future, right? Now,
and if that, I have.
Sorry, if that mentality doesn't play out, then TBS is going to need to change strategy, right? And that is like what I'm trying to tell people is like, please listen to me and please try to understand what I'm trying to tell you, because if you don't act upon that, then I will need to change strategy, and then your fucking racing is gone.
Yeah. Right? So I'd like to chime in. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to keep going?
Sorry. No. Go ahead.
So I want to chime in on some of this because, like, you said a lot of smart things, and I just want to break it down a little bit. Number one thing is like, so I run a local store. It is so bad that I knew from the get-go if I opened a store just solely for drone racing stuff, it would never succeed. I knew that from the outset, even at the height of the excitement, because the returns on it are so low. You have to understand something. Like the local shops, like you go in there and you say, oh, they're not as good as the online shops. Guys, like to rent a venue, to rent a place, it costs money, okay? Thousands of dollars. We are actually trying to help you by actually being there. But if you never buy from us, Trappy's right. Once that support goes away, the local races are going to find it really tough to gain support, because if businesses go away locally for RC, that's where RC dies. Like, I'm not just talking about drone racing. I'm talking about anything RC related. Once the local shops are gone, like RC dies there eventually because people stop being interested. So that's point number one. And it's so important, but like, I don't know, it's an uphill battle. I'm not sure if there is a right way to win that battle.
It's a total uphill battle. But at the same time, I guess because we're such an intelligent industry, I guess that, if people really made an effort, they could change it, and it wouldn't even cost them much. It would just mean that money stays within our community and that it stays locked inside, and we actually, we fuel ourselves, right?
Right.
If money leaves the community, then there is no more community, because companies eventually have to face reality, and the reality is, if you're not making money, you gotta fire people.
Yep,
Right?
or leave,
Mm-hmm.
close up shop.
Or just close shop. I mean, that's the last step. But this is just a
Yep.
really important.
Yep. Next thing. So here's the interesting thing. DRL, we all know, is successful. DRL is great for the community in terms of awareness to the public. But you should also realize that DRL being that successful is bad for big events, like for instance the Megadrone X. For me to throw another Megadrone X, we actually made no money. We actually were a little bit under red. Like literally for all of the sponsors we came in, we still came in the red. That's the reality of it. Most major events do not make money, so it shouldn't surprise anybody, but it does for some people. But the problem is that when DRL is that successful, they actually draw more sponsors than they need. I no longer have access to them because if they're going to put in the big bucks, they want to go to DRL. They don't want the next tier down, right? So like the tier 1 sponsors that I want, they're harder to get now because they want to go to DRL. I'm actually left with a smaller pot, even though my event will support more pilots. Like, you go to DRL, it's like 8 pilots. I'm trying to pull in 60 to 80, right? And I'm trying to give you guys visibility, but I have less of a pot to work with. So you got to realize that local and also like sponsorships, it's very dynamic. Like we rely a lot on the big stable companies like TBS, to keep things going. But if they're suffering, those big events will be the first things that suffer. Guaranteed. You will not have those big events because I can't pull in the money to go to those big venues and say, I can support this and I can grow this, because it's really hard to actually put on a big event and do it successfully. Sorry, I need to make a living, and if I can't do it drone racing, I will jump ship and go somewhere else to do it, okay? Because at the end of the day, I want to retire. At a certain point, I want to retire and have a beach house, blah, 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 and all that stuff. So
everybody wants that, and very few people are going to get it, but that's capitalism at work, right? But that's why it's also, I think it's a good point that you mentioned it's an uphill battle, because eventually the lowest price usually tends to win in these type of situations. And just let me tell you right here, TBS is very well prepared for what could happen eventually, and TBS is always going to be around. We can compete with other companies on price very easily. But it's the thing that would suffer the most from this is the local industry. And TBS is big enough to do whatever is necessary. We can pull very big moves, and completely radically change our company within overnight. But we would rather not do that, or would rather not be forced to do that, and we will stick around and stick to our course for as long as it's possible. So so that was the third point, and the fourth point is that the of the speech, and that is also a very troubling thing, is that even though the tip of the iceberg remains the same size or is slightly growing, the underlying rest of the community is breaking off. And in my opinion, that's due to point 1, 2, and 3. So the FPV racing community as a whole is getting smaller, whereas the people that regularly go to events and regularly post online and create the social media hype is getting bigger. So that is a very troubling trend for the Black Sheeps and for the Hobby Kings and for Bangoods and for everybody in this industry, because it's drawing money, like a big money pool out of the whole industry. Whether it's inside our community or outside, the racing industry is not growing anymore. And I think the reasons are not because there's something wrong with FPV racing. FPV racing is an awesome thing. There's not because of the cost of one individual component, Like if there was like, let's say goggles were suddenly just $100 and they were actually decent for $100, then it wouldn't really change all that, because the most amount of money is spent on recycling your gear. That means
Mm-hmm.
like, going from BL Heli to BL Heli S, going from BL Heli S to D shot. All of these, that's where the money is spent. And that's where the money is lost, in my opinion, because you're not really getting anything for something. You're getting a very tiny little bit of improvement for a large chunk of money.
A
And that's why
large chunk. Yep.
that's why the general population of the FPV drone racing, they're just like, oh, screw this, I'm out. I'll be back. I'll be back in a year or two when things are stabilized.
Stabilized. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and there's only two ways that this is going to stabilize. It's going to be through bankruptcies. So you'll just see companies popping, puff, 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 puff. One, or if 100 motor manufacturers die, we will still have 100 left, which is about 50 too many, right?
Right.
So next year there's gonna, or this year there's gonna be a lot of companies, either they're gonna die or the industry is gonna die, and they're just gonna drag them down with.
Well, Hobbyco is supposed to be in serious trouble right now, and Hobbyco's. I know. I know you didn't mention that.
I can't say names.
You didn't say that. You didn't say it. I said it. I said it, but I read it. It's, my dad pointed it out. My father came to me and like, hey, I remember this company when you first started to fly. My dad remembered it. He said, look, is this really going to happen? And I'm like, what do you want me? I don't know, but the thing is that what happens is a lot of companies then got stagnant in this market, and a lot of companies refuse to work with the multi-rotor. This is the thing that you tried to ostracize the most, is what's going to cut your toes off later, right? And that's what it came out to. I mean, when helicopters, single rotors first came out, it kind of happened the same way. Companies was like, oh no, we don't want it, those whirly birds or whatever you want to call them. And then they started seeing that there was a market for it, and then the market was going to walk away from them because no hobby shop wanted to support them, right? And then they made that move, and then they watched themselves grow and become a bigger company and more viable. And now that market is somewhat gone. And now the multirotors and guys are trying to figure out whether or not they don't, you can't pay teenagers like you used to. When I was growing up, you could give me $5 a day, $5 or $10 an hour or something like that, and buy me a drink, couple of pops and a hamburger, and I was a great employee for you all month long, right? But today you have to hire somebody that has media talent, that has editing skills, that has programming skills, that's staying up on what's coming out. And a lot of these companies, these small companies, can't afford to pay somebody with those skills.
Yeah, it's true.
Which sucks.
All right. I'm going to call it, because I'm sorry, Trappy, we kind of ran over a little bit, so I didn't mean to take that much of your time. But it was great talking to you, and we covered some really good topics, and hopefully you had time, or had a fun time coming on, and we're gonna have this posted up.
Definitely, that was awesome.
Yeah. Now
we want to have you back, Trav.
Oh yes, we'll definitely have you back.
Anytime, man. Let me know.
We'll probably have you back on 2018, and we're going to talk about all the rest of the neat products that you have.
Sooner than that.
All the shit I tease right now, that's already like last year's stuff, man.
That's right. So just pan your camera to the right and left a little. No, I'm kidding. All right, Trappy, if do you have any social media sites you want to direct anybody with questions to? If you do, say them now.
So yeah, if you guys want to check us out, we're on Facebook. Just type in Team BlackSheep. We're on Instagram, BlackSheep FPV. We also have a website, team-blacksheep.com. So that's our web store and also our product showcase. Please check out our dealers, our local dealers, and buy from them as much as you can, even if it's not TBS stuff. And yeah, just keep flying.
All right. Oh, one more question. If somebody wants to be a dealer for Team Black Sheep, how do they do that? I've been asked this.
Hit us up. There's a support link on our website that takes you to our ticketing system. Just create a quick paragraph there. Talk about yourself. Talk about your company. Talk about how you want to change FPV, and then we'll consider your application.
All right. Thank you. All right, Trappy. Appreciate the time, and we will definitely talk to you again.
All right. Cool.
Thanks, homie.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for once again tuning into the FPV podcast. We know you enjoyed the content of the podcast, and that will never change. But we would like to grow and expand our community and provide even more support. With your help, we can do just that. Please go to www.patreon.com/FPV podcast and become a patron of the show for as little as $1 a month. With your support, we can make the FPV community even stronger. Thank you.